Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'm going to shift gears significantly here. Do you want me to take up 179 first?
Please.
Thank you. And with me, of course, is my incredible co-author, Senator Wiener. Thank you, Chairman, members. I'm here to present SB 179, the Gender Recognition Act. This bill will enable more transgender, intersex, and non-binary Californians to obtain state-issued identity documents that accurately reflect their gender. Showing our identification is part of our daily lives when we use our credit cards, go through airport security, apply for a job, just a few examples. For someone who has an ID that states a gender that doesn't match their gender presentation, things can get difficult. Everything from a delay in completing what should be a mundane task to outright harassment. Current law is outdated. It creates onerous and unnecessary barriers for Californians who wish to apply to state agencies and to the courts for a change in gender. SB 179 removes these barriers. Very specifically, it creates a third non-binary gender marker for state-issued identity documents. It removes the requirement of physician attestation and replaces it with self-attestation. It removes the requirement that a person seeking a gender change or name change court order appear in court except in the rare instance where someone files objections to their petition. And finally, it creates a process by which minors can apply for a change in gender on their birth certificates with parental involvement and approval. It will improve the lives of transgender, intersex, non-binary Californians and will give California, keep us in the forefront of the LGBTQ civil rights movement. With your permission, I'd like to turn it over to Senator Wiener.
Senator Wiener, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Colleagues, I'm honored to be a joint author on this bill with Senator Atkins, and I want to thank her for her leadership. This bill is a critically important step forward in really making clear that in California we want people to live their authentic lives as who they are, and this is simply removing a government barrier to people being able to be who they are, making it easier for people to correct and update their gender on government documents, and also allowing people who do not identify as either male or female to identify as non-binary. This is, I think, a very common sense measure. We have a history in this country and in this world of forcing people into gender roles, whether it's forcing women to be a certain way in life or forcing young boys to be a certain way or forcing all manner of people to be who society says they are as opposed to who they actually are. So again, this is simply removing government barriers to people being able to lead and live their authentic lives. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have, if you will allow me, two witnesses. Is that appropriate?
Yes, it is, but also there are some amendments that are listed in the analysis. You are taking those amendments?
Yes, we are, Mr. Chairman.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to ask Carly Mitchell, who goes by the pronouns they and them, is non-binary person representing the Intersex and the Gender Queer Recognition Project. Carly is currently petitioning for a legal change to the gender of non-binary, and also Jonathan Clay, who goes by the pronouns he and him, is the father of a really phenomenal and brave young binary transgender child named Cyrus. We have a couple of people who can answer technical questions, including Joe Michael from Equality California as well. Thank you.
Thank you. First witness, please.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Carly Mitchell. What gender am I? I bet you thought either male or female before I even asked the question, and this assumption is called the gender binary. I was born non-binary, meaning my body and mind don't fit into either gender. At the age of 2, I told my parents I wasn't a girl. At 12, I was the only person on my football team without a penis. And today, at 36, I can wield a chainsaw 50 feet up a tree, and I'm also a really soft, sensitive artist type. Our identities, who we know ourselves to be, is affected by our biology and the environment, nature and nurture. There are non-binary folks who are intersex. They have ambiguous genitalia, chromosomes that are not XX or XY, 1 in 100 people have bodies that differ from standard male or female. And there are non-binary folks who do have genitalia that is considered standard male or female. But our brains have always been transgendered. And collectively, we are the solid evidence that there is and always has been a spectrum of gender variation in the human species. So why do we need a non-binary identification? This week alone, I was harassed multiple times because I deviate from my assigned gender. We are assaulted, imprisoned, murdered, and this daily stress has caused 41% of us to attempt suicide like I did. We need legal recognition that we exist in order to protect our lives and to have good lives. We need autonomy over our own bodies and minds, which means we need doctors taken out of this process because we've experienced abuse of power from them. And the intersex community has experienced a long history of genital mutilation and forced hormonal treatment based on this assumption, this myth, that there are only 2 genders. Please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Good morning, Chair Stone, committee members. My name is Jonathan Clay. I'm here to testify in support of SB 179, not in my usual role as on behalf of a client, but on behalf of my family. Sorry, I always have a difficult time getting through this. As the parents of a transgender child, SB 179 will provide us with a better avenue for securing the needed documents that we need as parents with a child that doesn't actually match up with their gender presentation. So what does this mean? What this means is being able to get security documents that match how our child looks. You know, as a typical parent, we have those oh heck moments. And last year, traveling to San Diego to visit grandparents, I realized that our child's travel documents were still in the birth name and birth gender, and our child clearly did not present that way, which always leads to questions going through security. SB 179 helps provide a mechanism for us to be able to deal with this. In just the 8 months that my wife and I have been traveling down this path, we've had at least 2 doctors, for unrelated reasons, in consultation with our child, decide to talk to us about gender identity and the gender of our child. And that's one of the problems that we have in the current society is by going through this process, we open ourselves up to lots of conversations in a time and a manner that we as parents don't get to control. And so SB 179 creates those mechanisms that will allow us as a parents, without having to go through a doctor, without having to go to an in-court appearance, to be able to allow our child to live, as Senator Weiner talked about, their authentic life, to be who they're going to be. And so I'm here to support SB 179 and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to witnesses, indulge me for just a second. I need to go present a bill in Senate Public Safety. They're at the end of their agenda. I just want to say this is a very, very important bill to me. I'm glad that you brought this up. If you hadn't, I probably would have. I was talking with some folks in my district about it. And in fact, I think the first official non-binary person is out of my district. So I thank you for bringing this forward. This is an incredibly important issue, I think, for California. Unfortunately, timing is what it is. I'm not going to be able to be here for the rest of this. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Cunningham to chair for these items until I get a chance to come back, but I will be back as soon as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Any additional witnesses in support?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Joe Michael for Equality California. We are a co-sponsor of this bill along with Transgender Law Center, and I'm here to state the support of both of those organizations today. I will keep this very brief because you've heard a great deal of the information about this bill already, but I just want to also state that as someone who identifies as non-binary, this is tremendously important to me personally as well. So definitely urge the committee's support today and happy to answer any questions that come up also. Thank you.
Toby Adams. I'm the Executive Director of the Intersex and Genderqueer Recognition Project, and have represented the majority of Californians who've gotten a non-binary gender, and I'm in support of SB 179.
Maya Ingram, ACLU of California, in support.
Alicia Lewis, on behalf of the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of California, in strong support, as well as on behalf of the California Latinas for Reproductive Justice.
Kimberly Chen with the California Pan-Ethnic Health Network, in strong support.
Gregory Kramer on behalf of Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California, in strong support.
Wayne Hagan, I'm a proud grandparent of Stara Scara Hagan, who was the first minor granted non-binary status by Santa Cruz Superior Court, and I really understand the need for this bill and support it.
Dina Oscara, mother of a transgender child and founding member of the Trans Family Support Group of Santa Cruz County, also representing Santa Clara County, Monterey County, Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and San Jose.
Jennifer Harms of the National Association of Social Work California chapter, in support.
Andy Paradise, parent of a non-binary transgender child, and her fiance, also the consortium of trans family support groups of the Bay Area, in support.
Michael Radigan on behalf of the Board of Supervisors of Santa Clara County, in support.
Maddie Stratton, transgender non-binary community member, in support.
Margot Brooks with the Intersex and Genderqueer Recognition Project, in support.
Dee Shull with the Intersex and Genderqueer Recognition Project. I am non-binary, and I stand in strong support of this bill.
Kelly Lou Densmore with the Transgender Gender Variant Intersex Justice Project, in support.
Jean Adams with the Intersex and Genderqueer Recognition Project. I am non-binary and I support this bill.
Good morning. My name is Janetta Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of TGIJP, which stands for Transgender Gender Variant Intersex Justice Project, and I'm in full support.
Woods Irvin with the Transgender Gender Variant Intersex Justice Project, and I'm in support.
I'm Trey Luna. I'm with the Intersex and Genderqueer Recognition Project. I am transgender. I am in support.
Hi, I'm Coral Fagan with the Western Regional Advocacy Project, and I am in support.
Good morning. Emily Harris with the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, in support.
Heather Lauder Clay, parent of a 7-year-old. I'm in support. Thank you.
Any witnesses in opposition? Please approach and... Oh, thank you. You got it.
You're good. To your left.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Okay. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Chair and members. I am Dr. Laura Haynes, California licensed psychologist. I'm a consultant for the American College of Pediatricians and the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, representing 4,000 physicians and health professionals. We urge you to reject SB 179 for the following reasons. A person's biological sex is determined at conception and cannot be changed. A birth certificate is a legal document that records the immutable fact that a person's biological sex at birth. Children cannot make an informed decision to attempt to transition to a gender identity different from their biological sex. Children are easily influenced by parents or other adults who may have their own motives for desiring the child's change. Over 80% of children who are not programmed to impersonate a different sex grow out of this ideation by late adolescence. The APA Handbook of Sexuality and Psychology cautions against having the community socially transition gender dysphoric children because if they reverse to identify with their biological sex, the distress has been shown to be substantial. Medical treatments for promoting a gender transition, such as puberty-blocking drugs or cross-sex hormones, may cause irreversible adverse health effects, including sterility. The present law protects everyone. SB 179 allows biological men to legally access private spaces reserved for women. This endangers women and children. This could have a devastating effect on female athletes, where boys and men could attain an unfair advantage in women's sports by changing their birth certificate. This could adversely affect the ability of biological girls from California to compete for college scholarships after being defeated by biological boys. This legislation is offensive to a majority of citizens in California, especially survivors of sexual assault. We urge you to oppose SB 179.
Microphone. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Matthew McReynolds, Senior Staff Attorney with Pacific Justice Institute. I'll be brief. We're, first of all, well aware of the strong LGBTQ lobby that's here and the support it has amongst the members. So we don't contest a lot of bills like this, but we do occasionally need to just ask some questions and contest where all this is going. As far as the changes to the identification, at last count, there were more than 58 genders that have been identified by Facebook, by some accounts 70. And so it doesn't seem in some ways like this goes nearly far enough in identifying all the genders that are out there. And so there has to be some kind of limitation on that, whether that's 2 or 3. And I just think this is going to lead to more and more similar efforts, none of which are going to satisfy the lobbyists and will ultimately just undermine the integrity of our identification documents. Fortunately for all of you, I do not have a California driver's license. I do have a personal identification card, and I'm told that it lists a number of things like birth, height, weight, gender, or sex, as well as home address. To the degree that all of these become more subjective, the integrity of the process is undermined. And I would just point out, we've also raised concerns about compliance with the Federal Real ID Act. We've seen with the new administration, there is a willingness to sometimes create chaos at airports in the pursuit of new policies. And so we hope that some consideration has been given to how this act would interplay and comply with federal law, and we fear that it has not and could lead to similar chaos. So with those observations, we respectfully oppose the bill.
Hello there, my name is Eric Urine. I'm with Everlasting Ministries. I work with several other ministries in the Sacramento community and multiple churches. I don't want to discuss like an individual's free will or what they can and cannot do. I just want to simply share with you my testimony, what I know being a pastor and having done counseling with many people that have dealt with these issues of gender identification. And the struggles that they go through, just as we heard earlier, are real. And my experience is, though, is that there is an answer. Obviously, being a pastor, I believe in the power of prayer and in Jesus. And I have seen people walk into what I believe is the destiny and the purpose that God has for them in their lives through prayer. And with that, I want to talk to a broader issue, I believe, in being in truth. What is truth, and do you believe in truth? Which takes precedence, a feeling about oneself or a fact of nature. Feelings can change at any time, and for all sorts of reasons. Facts are indisputable. set in concrete. This is why the very foundation of our nation was built on truths, for the foundation built on feelings cannot stand long before it crumbles. No lie ever comes from truth. That which is true is always in accordance with the facts. The quote I have here, the idea that one's sex is a feeling, not a fact, is permitted in our culture and is leaving casualties in its wake. Gender dysphoria should be treated, not encouraged. Now, this is a quote from Dr. Paul R. McHugh, distinctive service professor of psychology at Johns Hopkins University and former psychiatrist in chief for Johns Hopkins Hospital, who studied transgendered people for 40 plus years and was one of the pioneers of sex-changing surgery operations. Demonstrated that the practice brought no important benefits to the individuals, and as a result, Johns Hopkins University stopped using that form of treatment in the 1970s. Again, I continue, quote, he said, it is a scientific fact that transgendered men do not become women, nor do transgender women become men. They become feminized men or masculinized women, counterfeits or impersonators of the sex of which they identify with. Plenty of evidence demonstrates that transgenderizing is a psychological issue rather than a biological matter. I stand here to point out, to ask what is real. It's not to ask whether the things they go through are real or not, but I do so because I believe that truth does matter. And I can tell you that I've seen many victims in my life that have suffered dealing with these issues. I believe that once truth is replaced with one's own feelings that is built upon the very foundation of our society begins to crumble. And historically, we have seen that as precedents.
Sure.
It's happened in some of the great...
Stop you for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Does that conclude your testimony?
Yeah, I conclude that right now.
Okay, thank you. Bring it back to the committee. Any questions from committee members?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask the first opposition witness. You mentioned you're a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and you suggested a number of organizations you're affiliated with. Who are you representing today?
Well, I'm representing the American College of Pediatricians and the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. I'm a consultant to them, and I'm representing them today.
Have they taken an official position against this bill?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they have.
Look forward to future conversations with them. I want to thank the Senate authors for being just tremendous champions for gender identity in our LGBT communities. I also want to thank the witnesses in support of this bill for speaking up for thousands of Californians who are transgender, who are intersex, from our non-binary communities. And to our opposition, I just want to say the following, which is I identify as straight and male. I am a regular churchgoer, and my church and I will be praying for understanding and love and tolerance on this issue, and look forward to hopefully someday living in a country, living in a state where we can all understand and support all of our family members. And with that, I'm a proud co-author of this bill. I know this bill has already been moved, but I do hope that it will move with strong support from this committee.
Assemblymember Garcia.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank the authors for bringing this forward. You know, we deal with a lot of different issues and problems here in the Capitol, and oftentimes I talk about making sure that we are working with the community, with the affected community, so that they could identify the problems and they could ask us for what they need. And I think today we heard from a parent and from an individual sharing one thing they need to be able to live their true identities in a better way, in a healthier way. And so I think that that's what this bill is about today. And I think that's why this bill is so important out here, and why I think we should all be supporting this bill. I think this idea that this is subjective or it's feelings, you know, it comes from a place of privilege. As a straight white woman, it might be easy to think that because it's something different that I don't live or experience. But I think my role here is to make sure that no matter what your identity is, you're able to live that in a way that suits you. And so I appreciate the work that you are doing here today. Happy to support this. And I do hope that as we move forward, we come from a place of love, a place of understanding, and a place where we let individuals decide for themselves what they need. Thank you.
Assemblymember Calra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to thank the senators for bringing this bill forward, and I think it's important. I think it's been, given what's happened certainly at the national level, I think it's more important than ever for us here in California to make it very clear that we stand on the side of all in our community and stand on the side of ensuring that we create not just a safe community for all, but one in which everyone can live their full potential and live their lives in a way that allows them to be loved and supported by the community. And anything that diminishes that, I think, is contrary, certainly, to my values, contrary, I believe, to the values of what we should be supporting as Californians. And I think I want to thank Senator Chu. I think he put it well that no matter what our faith is, that our faith should always start and end with love and loving everyone. And I believe that this bill is a demonstration of love and support in our community. And that also, if the opportunity presents itself, would certainly appreciate the opportunity to be a co-author as well. But we'll certainly support this bill.
I think I'd bring it back to the senator for a closing.
Well, thank you. I think I'm going to let my co-author close first. He's got bills on call.
Oh, thank you. I'll just be brief. First of all, I want to thank the committee for all the thank members for all the comments, and as elected officials, we can give our own testimony and arguments, but hearing from people who are actually impacted by this, and family members, and particularly, it's very inspiring to hear from parents who are sticking up for their children. There's nothing more powerful than that. I will just note, the opposition to this bill are the same groups that, frankly, have been opposing pretty much every single LGBT civil rights bill for decades and decades and decades. This is, every step of the way, whether it's around employment discrimination or protecting LGBT seniors, or ending the practice of conversion therapy, which is psychological torture of children, which we correctly banned in this state. I will also just note, it's surprising that any medical group would claim to oppose this. It wasn't that long ago when being LGBT was classified as a mental illness, and we were able to end that. So this is an important step forward, and I'll turn it over to Senator Atkins.
Thank you. I want to bring it back to a place of love. I'm pretty sure that...
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I've been informed that there were a few witnesses that did not get a chance to say their piece, and I want to let them do that before you close. And I apologize for the interruption.
Mr. Chairman.
Please state your name and your organization you're with, and whether you support and oppose, and nothing more. Thank you.
My name is Ariel Storm. I'm a stay-at-home mom and a Christian prayer minister, and I strongly oppose this bill. My children have been adversely affected by your agenda. Thank you.
My name is Greg Burt. I'm with the California Family Council, and we're opposition.
Thank you.
My name is Justin Storm. I'm a Christian, and I oppose this bill as anyone who believes the words of Jesus written in the Bible.
Name, organization, support or oppose, please.
Pastor Mike Rogers, Faith Baptist. I'm opposed.
Thank you.
John Evertson, pastor, West Valley Baptist Church, and also the California director for Awake America Ministries, and we're opposed as well. Respectfully, thank you.
Thank you. Bring it back to the senator for your closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I grew up in the church in Southwest Virginia. My parents, we went to church every Sunday, Sunday night, Wednesday night, vacation Bible school, tent revivals. My parents were pretty devout. And when I came out as a lesbian, they didn't really understand, but they loved me, and they were always going to be supportive. When I look at parents like Jonathan and Heather Clay, I'm pretty sure they never envisioned this for their child. And I also know that I'm pretty sure they never had it in their minds to influence their child in a way, as has been commented upon today. And certainly for Carly, who has the strength and the ability and is brave enough, along with Joe Michael, to step forward and help those of us understand how the world evolves. You know, as someone who's a member of the LGBT community, along with my colleague here, I never imagined that we would be in this place today where we would have to question, how is it that kids are born into this world and they try to tell us who they are from a very young age? Are we influencing them, or are we finally beginning to listen to them as they tell us who they are? And so I do believe, and for the record, we know that there are many groups, medical groups, that actually are in support of this, the American Academy of Pediatricians. You know, certainly we're going to continue to have conversations and issues as we evolve as a people, as a community. But today what we're really trying to do is give the ability for people to be authentically who they are. And we're going to have to continue to grapple with some of these things. You know, the Federal Real ID Act, the State Department already has a method for how to do this, because there are at least 7 other countries that recognize a third gender marker or others. And so I think this will be a continued dialogue. I think we'll continue to agree and disagree, and hope within our hearts we find a way to expand our minds and acceptance, so that really what we're trying to do is help people to live healthy, happy, productive lives. I would respectfully ask for your support, and I would thank all of those for their questions or comments, and particularly those of you who have agreed to co-author this bill. Thank you. Ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. The motion is do pass as amended to transportation. Call the roll, please.
Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Cunningham? Chow? Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. Garcia? Holden? Aye. Holden, aye. Kalra? Aye. Kalra, aye. Kiley? No. Kiley, no. Mainshine? Aye. Mainshine, aye. Reyes? Aye. Reyes, aye. Ting? Aye. Ting, aye.
That bill is out. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Senator Atkins, you have item number 10, SB 310.